Make sure by the end of all of this, you check out each and every single individual that is in attendance. I promise you will not be disappointed. Every single soul that is present here has presented nothing more than superb feedback, dropped gems, has been just amazing over the last few months. I enjoy every interaction that I have with these folks, and tonight is no different. Before I go and bring these lovely people up, I do want to add, in addition, shout out to Mac. Shout out to Mac. Um, the gentleman that I did a live stream with the other day, we spoke on life after death. It was a very, very awesome sit down between me and this brother, another soul that I met in my tenure on Threads. Shout out to him. Make sure you check out that upload. It will be tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to check that one out, you're not going to be disappointed. Uh, without further ado, however, I'm not going to keep you long. I know why we all here. I know why I'm here. We got a guest making her debut tonight on the panel. I want to give her a warm welcome. And we have returning guest. Make sure you check out that interview, by the way, Miss Taylor. She did an amazing job on that one. Um, Mr. Derek, Mr. Matthews, I'm bringing you all up. I'm going to start with my sister here. Hello, hello, hello.
Just so you
Hello,
know,
hello,
Taylor,
hello.
there you are.
Mr. Greg Kelly, I see you in the building. Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing tonight?
I'm well, thank you.
Yeah, doing good.
Me too.
Awesome,
Thank you.
awesome. So, just to get okay, just to do a little introduction. Derek Taylor, Taylor Derek, Jason Taylor, Taylor Jason.
How you doing? Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you as well.
You as well.
So, just a quick background. I've been in good graces and um, connection with Mr. Derek here for a few years now. I met this brother on Instagram before Threads was even thought of. Um, you definitely should keep in contact with him. He's a very, very wise brother. Always been solid all across the board. Um, Mr. Matthews here, I met him on Facebook in duration of just making my presence known in the social media spectrum, trying to get the platform off his feet. And Mr. Six Rings down here at the bottom, I've known him 20 plus years. Went to high school together and everything. So just so you understand, we have a tight knit group here. Miss Taylor here is one of the sweetest people that I've ever met on Threads. Um, she came on, she did an interview. She basically poured her heart out. I mean, being her first time doing that, I applaud her. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely check that interview out. Nothing but raw, nothing but authentic, and you can't ask for nothing else from a person. So I hope that kind of gave everybody a gauge of who is who in here. I just wanted to get us all warmed up for what we're about to get into because I know people talk about this a lot, but when Miss Taylor brought this to my attention, I thought to myself, all right, she didn't think that this was going to be something of interest, but I've seen this on a number of different platforms where they're basically going to war with traditional wives versus modern day marriage and things of that nature. So, who better to give their input on this than a woman herself? And I know that I'm going to get some good word from the rest of the brothers on here. So, before we start, do anyone want to add anything in?
Honestly, I'm just ready to get started. I'm ready to jump right in, honestly.
Okay. So this is what I'm going to do, right? I have two clips. One, they're both basically talking about tradition, but one of them is kind of going against the grain, where they're kind of anti traditional wife. One is more of on the submissive side of it. So I'm going to play the first one, and then I'm going to go into the second one, and we can go around the panel. We can start with Miss Taylor on how she feels about traditional values, what she thought about the video, and then we'll go to Mr. Matthews down to Six Rings to Derek. One second. Okay.
My husband is my boss. My husband is number one. My husband tells me, hey, sit down. I'll sit down. He tells me, you can't go out with your friends today. I'm not going to go out with my friends. He says, hey, go wash this dish for me. I'm going to go wash the dish for him. I chose this man to be the king of my life. And yes, I agree with everything he says. And I do everything he says. And I did that because I chose this man. I put him in this position in my life. And this is how I honor and take care of and love the man in my life. So I tell women out there, you want a man in your life, you want to be happy, figure out what you would do when you are happy. Because I am happy. My husband does so many great things for me. And I would do that for him. I obey him, I respect him, and I let him be the man that he is. I chose a man that I wanted to follow. I chose someone to lead me, and that's why I will do anything for him. If he tells me jump, I'll jump. Tells me sit down, I'll sit down. If he tells me go in the room or go up on stage, I will do either or. Anyways, that's a message for everyone out there. Love and cherish the king in your life.
Okay. So that was clip number one. I want to give you both sides of it before we actually go into the reaction piece. So here's the other one, and then we'll just start from there.
This video behind me is going viral.
It is really hard to find a man in the relationship in today's day and age. wants to open your door, who has that want and desire to take care of you and to provide. And obviously, as a liberal woman, I do want to be respected for my independence. And I do want to have my own autonomy in the relationship and not be confined or conform to the traditional female homemaker, childbearing role.
So you do not want to have to be traditional and you don't want to play your role in the relationship, but you want him to have to play that role in the relationship. No, a traditional man will be attracted to a woman that is more traditional and wants to play that role and to have that perfect harmony and that balance. Somebody said, I want a traditional man without being a traditional woman. Yes, exactly. All of the benefits, none of the responsibilities. Learn how to bake some sourdough bread and raise some damn children. And then maybe you can get one.
The entitlement right here is just astounding. What she wants is a relationship that just isn't possible. What she wants is a masculine.
You know what? I would love to know your thoughts on this. Now you saw both clips.
Correct. Well, so my personal view, I lean more towards a traditional marriage. My husband and I both do. And that was something that we even discussed prior to getting married. It was something that we I would say it's more of an agreement that we've come to, where I agreed and I chose to stay at home and to raise the children. And that means that if I'm going to be the homemaker, that I also do the majority of the chores. And, you know,
There you go. Your sound went out. Come back and go out and come back in. I know she was getting ready to cook. Looked like she was on the road. I'll say this while she tries to get her thing in order. For the last decade plus, there's been this war of what the positions are, what the roles are in a household, in a partnership and relationship. First of all, for someone who is or has been raised under the notion that the man of the house is supposed to move and operate in a certain way where he's covering bills and he's being the protector, going out in the forefront to protect the household. There's other places and avenues where it's coming to the point where they're trying to demonize and scold you for being stoic and being manly and masculine. But I see she's back in the building, so I'm gonna give it back to you. It sounds like the volume is good now.
all right, I don't
I know
know
you was getting
how much of that you heard.
you were talking about how you and your husband came to an agreement prior to your marriage.
Correct. And so I think that's where a lot of feminists think that being a homemaker is something that is required of them by husbands, but I think that it's quite the opposite, that it can be an agreement that you come to with your husband. I agreed to do this. This is something that I've always wanted to do, and my husband doesn't force me to. He didn't require me to, but I still have the ability to trust him that he will take care of me financially and that he will provide for the house and home. And, you know, he doesn't, I would say I'm very traditional, but at the same time, my husband doesn't not do things if he doesn't help me. I mean, he does. He helps me pick up slack. So he will do dishes if he needs to. He will sweep the kitchen if he notices that I didn't do it that day. And so it's my primary role to raise the children. I have my son 90% of the time, but that doesn't mean that my husband doesn't help me when he sees that I need help.
Gotcha. I want to ask you a question, and then we can go to Jason. But in your opinion, why do you think that being submissive, or this idea of being submissive to the person that you are intimately giving your time, your energy, your everything to, is looked at as a terrible thing to do? Like, everyone is kind of trying to downplay it and make it look and appear as if it's just the most atrocious thing that you could ever conjure up. Women are not slaves, they're not dogs or animals. We shouldn't be. Why do you think that feminists, and just the way the social structure is now, is designed to try to make it seem like you have to compete with the opposite gender to have companionship?
I mean, the real answer is gonna be, I think that the reason why feminism even became a thing, it wasn't a woman who created feminism. It was a man. And it was the government. They wanted to get two forms of incomes to be taxed. They wanted to be able to tax 2 times the amount of people. So that's my belief. I think that realistically, it all started with the government wanting to tax women. And now I don't know why women want to be in the workforce and want to take on the role of a man for themselves. Because for me, I think men and women were created differently, and they're meant to bear different responsibilities, and just physically, emotionally, hormonally. And that, like, for me, it's a respect thing. Being submissive is being respectful to my husband, who wants to be in charge and wants to take the lead and wants to provide.
Mr. Matthews, do you
Well, I
have
got a
a
lot to say on this. I'm so glad that we're actually bringing this subject up. Just pull my notes up. I actually took some. One thing I love what Taylor said is in regards to the differences between men and women, and that there is a requirement there. And I think what we need to do, there's so much more I want to get into, but what you said, Taylor, but I really want to get this out. I think what we need to do is, when we're talking about traditional values, we need to understand why the traditional values exist. What is it about them that make them traditional? And many people look at the historical data of why we've done what we've done. And if we've always done that, why rock the boat? And to me, that's not enough. There has to be a reason why. And I've done a lot of research. I spent about 3 years actually trying to find out this information. And one thing that I found was that the traditional values are based on the basic survival of humanity. And this goes back to three primary principles that humans absolutely need in order to thrive as a species. They need to procreate, they need to build community, and they need to develop moral worth to find a way to do good. And without those three things, we suffer. And there is a role that each person plays biologically that allows the first thing to happen first and foremost, but also that biology also drives the second one of building community. The way that we do that is very specific. It should be very specific based on our biology. And the fact is that men are born to lead. It is men's birthright, but it's also an awesome responsibility. It is as much of a burden as it is a birthright. Leadership is tough. And men were built emotionally to be able to take on the foundations of leadership. And having women do that. Now, granted, there are some women that are geared towards leadership, that are geared towards a masculine role. That's cool. Those are outliers. When I'm making statements, I'm not making statements regarding the outliers. I'm making statements regarding the whole. Women that go into a leadership role, they're sacrificing the part of themselves that is meant to really bear the responsibility of cultivating and nurturing the future generations to ensure that we have a healthy, well-established, and well-adjusted society. And without that component, we suffer in all three of those areas: the procreation, the building community, and the development of moral worth. Men might lead, but women are the ones that nurture. And we have to honor that. We have to see those as both being extremely valuable and extremely precious things that both men and women do. And that is what I think really traditional wives and traditional marriages, traditional relationships for that matter, really means. It's the idea of understanding this is your role, this is my role. And honoring both, and having a man step up and say, I will ensure that you have the capacity of fulfilling your role by doing my duty. And then with the woman, it's, I will honor your duty and I will use that as a way of being able to fulfill my role. That is the tradition that exists. And by honoring that, by showing that that contract is enforced, it makes life much more bearable. It makes life not easy. Life isn't easy. It never will be. It's not supposed to be. But it makes it so that we can thrive. And that's what matters most. With technology, you can say that has done a lot of legwork, sure. But it will never replace the fact that human beings reproduce human beings. And in order to do that, men and women have to have the role of being able to provide the support structure that men can provide, so that women have the freedom to work within that structure to be the primary educators of the young and the disseminators of that culture. And so that's what I'm going to stop for right now, because there's more to say, but I don't want to dominate the conversation.
No problem. I believe it's on Derek.
All right. So my thoughts on this is like this. I think whichever side I don't think either side is right. I don't think either side is wrong. I think it's right or wrong for that individual. And I don't think it's if you choose to be, I think what Taylor said was, out of everything, was the best thing, where she said she had a conversation with her husband, and this is what they decided to do together. Those two made a conscious decision to live their life this way going forward. So that was best for Taylor and her husband. That decision may not be what's best for somebody else. We're all humans. We're all different. So whatever your opinion of a successful relationship is may not be the opinion or may not work for another group of people. And I think the problem we have is where we say, this is the way I do it, this is the way you should do it, and this is the only way to do it. That's where we go wrong. We're all different. Even if you agree in a traditional marriage, there's still going to be levels to that. There are some people that are going to be super submissive. There are going to be some people that are, more, a mix of modern and traditional. It's, I think, in any relationship, and especially in this topic, it's what works best for you and your relationship.
Desperado, you are up, sir.
I just wanted to say good evening to everybody on here, and I, y'all brought some good suggestions to this topic, man. I'm just gonna say, from what I heard from the first video, is that I believe you could be overly submissive as a woman. You know, it's nothing wrong with being submissive, to your husband, but don't nobody, like you said up top, don't nobody own the other person. Marriages do end sometimes, so pretty much it's just all about respect. Long as it's a respect for both sexes, uh, I don't see a problem with it. I think roles should be played to keep everything unified with a family, with a family based stuff. But I do believe that that a woman should respect her husband if she's married him. If she married him, that's a part of her role. She gotta respect her husband. And like I said, the submission is okay, but I don't want to see a woman be overly. I don't like that part, because I don't, you don't own nobody. You know what I'm saying? She's grown just like the husband's grown. So long as, like I say, long as a respect line is equal to each other, then I don't see a problem with it. That's it.
So I want to add this, a little pushback. A lot of the reason that these marriages don't survive and these relationships don't survive is because usually one person is going into it assuming that there's going to be more out of it than the other person is. The communication is horrible. The questions and the conversations that need to be had prior, the vetting, taking the proper steps in the direction that's going to give you that abundancy within that structure is neglected and is overlooked by lust, is overlooked by what I can garner from the other person. And because of these different intangibles, people go into these situationships completely missing the pieces that brings a success. Sure, a lot of them go 5, 10 years, but if statistics say anything to me, is that there has to be some type of accountability for the lack of leadership, a lack of continuity between the partner. Either the woman gets bored in the marriage and she wants to seek something outside of it. It's got him born stagnant. He's not doing anything spontaneous. he's not giving her this adrenaline rush, or the woman is not doing what she was doing at the beginning of the relationship, and he starts to go outside of it. I agree with you, Derek. It is depending on the person. I don't know what it is about social media, about how the government propagates and pushes out this idea that certain things have to work in this order in order for you to have a happy, long lasting life with someone. And you have to meet all these prerequisites. But the way I was raised, there are certain check marks that both parties have to match on. And if you're not matching on those parts, then who can we really blame at the end of the entire circumstance? So I think they're trying to demonize being feminine. I think they don't want women to be feminine because if a woman is feminine, the man can be in his frame. He can do the things that he needs to be getting done. And somehow it causes an economical imbalance to the blueprint that they set out to kind of deconstruct and destroy the nuclear household. So, oh, you doing what he wants you to do. You won't go to the club. You won't dress a certain way. Oh, something wrong with you. I thought you was raised better than that. Using these different manipulation tactics to kind of degrade a person to make them feel like they ain't worthy of Y and Z. And you need to have your own money. You need to go out here and build your own career and such and such and such and such. But you don't understand that there's certain traits. And let me say this, and I'm gonna pass it. I've said it before. I'm not trying to be arguing with no masculine, manly ass woman. I'm not. You want to talk like DMX and shit. Your shoulders all broad and you ready to fight the second that I say something that you don't approve of. You wailing around like a 5-year old because you ain't getting your candy, your favorite toy. But I'm supposed to protect you. I'm supposed to risk my life for you. But you want to do everything that I'm doing. So you want to do what I'm doing, but you don't want to do what you need to be doing to keep me happy or satisfied in this relationship as well. So not, and I'm referring to the both the clips because on one side she's basically saying, "Look, I want the traditional lifestyle. I want you to be all man, but I don't want to do no feminine stuff. I don't want to really cook. I don't really want to pay bills, but I don't mind spending all of your money while keeping mine at the same time. I'm not thinking about the family, the children. I don't really want to be a real role in the nurturing, but we can have these children. We can have babysitters and this, that, and the third. That was the impression I got from her. And whatever works for you, it's fine. But I don't think there's a lot of men out here in the world that is willing to marry someone who is not going to care two rats' asses about them. Honestly. So I'm working my entire life to pay mortgage, to pay bills, to pay rent, to ward off robbers and drug dealers and keep the property safe and keep the grass cut and mow the lawn and step in front of the bullet for you. I gotta be the aggressor and fight the people that's trying to hit on you. Also, I gotta make sure that you don't go out here doing stupid stuff because you're operating from an emotional place, overly aggressive for no apparent reason, getting in people's business when you shouldn't be getting in their business. And so I got to be the rational one and say, look, man, I love you, but you got to slow down. You got to think about what you're doing. And I think the problem here is that it comes off like we're trying to be your parents. We're not trying to be your parents. I'm not trying to be your parent. We don't want mothers. You don't want fathers. All right. This ain't what this is about. This is about having an equal balance, being equally yoked, and having a respect for the other party. You don't get into a relationship and then you everything that you did at the beginning you stop doing later on. So one side continues to love you, nurture, cater to you, buy you stuff on Valentine's Day, this A, B, C, and D, but you don't want to do it no more. You can just kick your feet up and everything just comes to you. So really, I guess it all really come down to your preference. What do you want? What can you tolerate? What can you accept, and what you won't accept? Some people might like a masculine woman. Some people might don't see no problem with splitting the bill 50-50. Some people don't find nothing wrong with someone being aggressive or talking back to them and talking down to them. I guess it really just depends on how you see it. I'll hand it over to you, Taylor.
I'm sorry. Were you telling me to go next?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. You, I don't know, you said definitely, I agree with most of it. The biggest thing that I agreed with is that there should be an equal level of respect for the husband and the wife. And I don't know if you want my thoughts on it. I think that we've come away from a traditional marriage. I liked how you were saying the propaganda in the social media, and I think that it's really, that's exactly what it is. It's propaganda that we've been fed. And I understand that some women might actually be more fulfilled doing the masculine role, and that's okay. We can do what makes us happy. But if you think about why, if you think about why did it come to be? It came to be, like I said earlier, because they wanted to tax women, but then they also wanted to put the children in schools to be raised by the government so that they can indoctrinate them and make better employees for more people to work and make more money and pay more taxes. And so when it comes down to what I really think will make women happy, it's going back to a more traditional role, because our body, like I said earlier, hormonally, like our bodies were not made to handle the level of cortisol that men can handle. And so we're not supposed to be in that role of provide, push, on the grind, go, go, go all the time. And I don't know. What else are you guys thinking?
So something that sticks out to me is the question about femininity, about traditional wives, is really a question about what is the validity of relationships, and why do they happen? And this is something that an organization that was founded in 1966 decided to take a direct shot at it. It's called the National Organization of Women. It was founded by 3 women in Washington, D.C., Betty Friedman, Muriel Fox, and Shirley Chisholm. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to dismantle the idea of the marriage. And they are packaging it as such that women can make their own choices. They don't need a man. They don't need to be in a traditional marriage. Marriages are just a shackle. It's just a submission where women don't actually have any rights and men have all the rights. Blah 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 blah. And the whole purpose, as Taylor had so aptly said, was it is a way to it's a way to deceive the people into believing that their rights should not matter. What they find important should not matter. And the problem with this is that the reason why they want to do this is because it's for a self-serving reason. It is a self-serving agenda. And that'd be fine if the results of what they were doing weren't so catastrophic. Because with women today, we see more women that are suffering from mental illness, that are unhappy, that are dealing with stress, depression, and other types of emotional problems than ever before, because they are buying into this lie that they should have the equal outcomes that men have. And equal outcomes is dangerous. You can't guarantee equal outcomes. Equality of outcome is not possible. What you can do is provide equality of recognition based on what is capable of a person to do, what they're capable of, and really focus on that. Anything else, it makes no sense to focus on, because it becomes a severe detriment to the whole of the species, both for men and for women. We see men that are also severely depressed, that are committing suicide at a greater rate than ever before, because they are not being recognized, that they're not being recognized for the role that they can provide. And so we're seeing problems on both sides. We're seeing major travesties on both sides, and it's not doing anybody any good. So we really have to ask, what is it we're really accomplishing here by challenging something that has worked for over 250,000 years? Why is it now necessary to challenge? What are we hoping to gain, if not for other than a self-serving purpose of an organization on behalf of a government? What is it that we are really gaining from doing this, and how are we making progress as a species by challenging these notions? And to be clear, when I say traditional roles, it doesn't necessarily mean the roles that have been defined specifically, like men go out to work, women stay in the home, raise the kids, whatever. I mean, there's some truth to that, but at the same time, there also is the idea that regardless of who you are, you have to be allowed to follow your passion, and you have to be given the support in order to do that. And as long as that support, as long as that passion is not self-serving, as long as what you do is what humanity has always done, work in an effort that brings about ever advancing species of humanity, that elevates a little bit more with each generation, what we do becomes a lasting legacy for those that are to come. As long as we're doing that, we're doing a great job. If it's self-serving, it becomes a distraction at best, because the outcomes that are self-serving, they disappear, they go away, because everyone dies. And when you are doing something just for yourself, it largely gets forgotten by the greater people. When you do something that is for the greater good, what you have done carries on after you and is able to be recognized by others and utilized for the betterment of humanity. And that's really what's important. I hope you're all able to follow my train of thought.
Okay. I'll say something here, and then we can go to Derek or Desperado. It doesn't matter. What I find interesting here, the question that I always ask myself in any of these debates, just being completely transparent. Who's winning in this back and forth? Someone show me the numbers. I'm speaking rhetorically. Someone show me where the lack thereof in terms of being feminine has compromised nations, has destroyed homes, has pushed men out of the house. Someone show me where the success rate of a successful masculine woman has created infrastructures that benefit the house, that nurture and waters the man, makes him feel good about breaking his back every single day. Anyone can provide me with evidence that the lack thereof of one or the other is a benefit or detriment over the other side, I would love to see it and hear, because we can pick and choose what works and we can go off of our own opinions. But if we being completely frank, a lot of this stuff is programmed in us without us even realize it. A lot of this stuff is subliminally being put inside of our thoughts, and we turn it into a reality through our actions, through how we interact. It becomes a part of our motif. And I'm sorry, but I have yet run into anyone who talks like me, but is genetically born without a certain chromosome. I've never run across one of these souls and thought to myself, this is going to last long. This is where my life stops. There goes the picket fence. There goes our trip to Bermuda with the kids, our barbecue with the neighbors. I can't envision a life with someone who ultimately is going to be competing with me the rest of my life. And my problem is not the fact that a person or a woman talks like that or decides that they want to make money and they want to. That's not the issue. My issue is when us as humans we can't look at ourselves in the mirror and see that there are certain habits and behaviors within ourselves that is off-putting, that is destructive, that is essentially going to cause rifts. When we are so egotistical and prideful and so stuck within our own ways and what we know, and we can't hear, God forbid someone tells us we doing too much or we're being overly this and overly this, or we have weaknesses and we need to get rid of it. Forbid if we do that, because now we are assholes and we're off with his head. But if you're one of these people who don't feel like it's a problem, but you always find yourself in this cycle of going going after the same type of person over and over and over again, I wonder why. Because in order for a guy to entertain a woman who matches a man's level of intensity, he is going to have to take his level of intensity up an extra notch in order to balance out her shit. So if she doesn't unprogram herself, heal, go to therapy, pray, whatever. If she doesn't do the work on herself to correct that that misguided information that she's been fed, and she decides that that's this who she's going to be. I'm not changing for nobody. I'm going to be me. If you don't like it, then you can go. If that's how you want to go about it, fine. I'm not knocking you. But in order for someone to tolerate that, they're going to have to be always on 10 with you, or they're always going to find themselves having to go there because you're never going to back down. And you're always going to want to go back and forth and prove yourself to be right. And put up with that shit all the time. I asked someone a question about this a year ago. They said the guy said he likes that shit. He likes the idea of having to put a woman in her place. Why do you got? My thing is, why do you have to put anyone in their place? Why do you have to go to that extreme to get some type of cooperation from anybody? Why does it have to go that far? If anyone else wants to speak, the floor is yours.
So, as a father, right, daughters, I tell you now, anybody that tells my daughter, and I have two of them, anybody that tells either one of them, this is what you have to do, or you're limited to this, I have an issue. Anybody that tells them, this is the life you have to live, this is the route you have to take, I have an issue. I want my daughter to, don't get me wrong, I want not just my daughter, everybody, I wish for health and happiness. And what makes one person happy, or specifically to the topic, what makes um, one relationship happy and work is going to be different from everybody. So for anybody to come tell one of my kids or one of my daughters, this is the way you have to find happiness, I'm not working with that. I'm going to tell my daughter, you do what's best for you. F everybody else. Your relationship is not between you and the world. Your relationship is between you and that other individual. And y'all have to do what's best for you. And don't get me wrong, there are certain boundaries. Don't put your hands on my daughter. You know, um, I believe my man Six Ring said, be respectful. There's a certain level as a dad of disrespect as a dad I'm not going to tolerate, and I'm not going to let her tolerate either. But at the same time, whether it's a traditional marriage, a non-traditional, or somewhere in the middle, they have to. My daughter has to find happiness, and if any other person tells them how that happiness is supposed to work, I have an issue. And I'll let the next person speak.
Having a hard time hearing you, Desperado.
So no one should be a slave to anybody. I don't think the issue here is slavery or someone putting the other person under the thumb. It's it's like you said earlier. It's everybody's preferences are different. I think that
Coming in.
in order
Yeah, I can hear you
for
now.
yeah, you good. Go ahead. I was getting ready to say something, but you up, so go ahead. You can unmute your mic.
Am I
Your
coming in?
mic.
Hold on, I'm having difficulties.
All
Hold on.
right.
What about now?
Yeah,
Good?
you good.
All right. Yeah, but I was gonna say, with you, Derek, man, I agree with everything you said about the daughters, man. I'm the same way about my sons. You know what I'm saying? You don't go into no relationship or whatever. You don't allow yourself to be disrespected uh, by by the opposite sex, man. You gotta demand that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not coaching them to ever put their hands on a woman. That's automatic failure. You know where you're going. They taking your ass to jail, straight up. Like I don't preach that. But far as like uh you being somebody's slave and somebody running you, you do all this for them and you don't get nothing in return. Like we're not doing that over here. I agree with straight up respect. You respect them, they respect you, and that's the only way it's gonna go further. There's so many to me, it's so many one-sided relationships out here, man. People are married right now where they do all the giving and they damn near get a hug every day. You know what I'm saying? So it's not right. You know what I'm saying? And as far as these mergers is concerned, I think you should know all of that before you even walk down the aisle with that person. You know what I'm saying? Both people should kind of understand one another and learn one another before that even takes place. You know what I'm saying? If that person is not fitting you, fitting your style, had a conversation, get it out the way. But we talked the other day about the leadership roles, and yeah, it's a lot of guys out here that don't know how to lead a lady, man, and it's ridiculous, and it's because of a lack of fathers in the home. Whatever happened between their mom and their dad, or whatever the fallout that they had, the mom don't even know you didn't crippled your son about being a father himself because you took his father from him. So it's a lot of that going on out here, to put it all on the table. How the hell he supposed to know how to lead or how to raise kids himself or be a good husband and all of that when he didn't see that example with his mom. You see what I'm saying? It's a lack of examples out here with both sexes. Women don't have a great example of the love of men because they didn't have their dad in their lives. Women out here, if they don't have a dad in their life, like I told you up top, a girl's first love is her dad, bro. It's never gonna change. That's always gonna be the case. Without that dad's love, she's not gonna know how to open her heart to no man, man. Period. She's gonna be blinded to that. She's not gonna know how to communicate her feelings and all of that to a guy. You know what I'm saying? So it's just about upbringing and backgrounds, like I said. And I also want to say, as far as the marriage is concerned, I feel like the softer. I don't feel like a masculine woman, a masculine wife, or however you want to put it, can truly love her husband. I don't think that's possible. I don't think she really love that man. The more masculine a woman is, it's a sign of the disrespect. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like I said before. I don't believe you should be overly. Don't be overly feminine, but be soft enough where the man can understand. You know what I'm saying? The respect level is there, and he give you the respect back. Because in order for that to happen, that give and take, is the women have to be in that mode. They got to be feminine for a man to truly love them back, man. A man can't truly love a masculine woman, man. And if he is, he's gonna be falling out of love soon. Like you said up top, the no no man's gonna stay with a woman that long with that irritation, that nagging, that combativeness. It's gonna piss him off, and that relationship will end. So I just think people just need to come up and learn better. And matter of fact, talk to each other, because like I just said, you don't know what that woman's background is with her parents. You don't know what that man's background with his parents. So he's coming in a relationship with high expectations, and I don't know anything about anniversaries. So I broke your heart. Maybe I forgot our anniversary. Why? Because I didn't see that coming up. You ever think to ask me that? You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of expectations uh that's being brung upon people, especially the youngins, and they don't have a damn clue on what they're getting themselves into. So I feel like the older men should teach the younger men, this is how you do things, this is how it's supposed to be done, so they can feel more comfortable in a masculine, and women can feel more comfortable in a feminine, and fix these dynamics, man, because it's out of place. You got it.
Can I add something real quick? All right. So the one thing I just want to say is, we as people, we generalize, like what you just said, the categories y'all was putting on. But I can tell you, probably, and the one thing I see out of my, like, I know, I got homies with, or I know people with beautiful wives, that, and the wives is doing them dirty. I know the most masculine guys that's holding it down, that's doing whatever they do. So I say all of that to say, it's not, we can't just say it's this group or that group or this group or that group. It's back to the point that you just made, is one, you got to have I think you said it earlier, we got to have communication, right? Two, you got to keep doing, you got to do the things that got you married to stay married. And then three, yeah, growing up, when you 100% right, when you don't have that, um, when you don't have the blueprint in front of you, it's hard to create that blueprint. And I'll stop.
One thing I'd like to add to that as well is Well, when it comes to identifying what's going to work in a relationship, it's also really important to identify why that's going to work, and what is the purpose of that union. If it's to compete for your own personal gains, yeah, it's dead on arrival, or it's going to disintegrate very fast. If you are doing something because it is for a longer term, what the practice that I use for my life and that I have really instilled in my family is that of stoicism. The idea that you are responsible for your actions, your decisions, your beliefs, your thoughts, and your feelings. And by taking responsibility for that and understanding how your thoughts, feelings, decisions, and actions and beliefs, how they impact not only your immediate family, but also your immediate environment and the environment at large, by being accountable for what you do in regards to that, it makes you a much better human being because you understand how you can positively affect your environment or how you can negatively affect your environment. And by keeping a mind of this is how I want to positively make my mark, how I want to aid the not only myself in my mind, but also my family, my environment, my culture, and mankind as a whole. When you have those thoughts in mind, how can I best be of service, which is really the primary tenet of leadership is being of service. How can I be of service? It makes your relationships and your life much more enjoyable. It makes them much more tenable, so that you feel a sense of purpose, a sense of drive to keep on going on. It doesn't feel like you're constantly at rivals with others, that you're competing for scraps because you realize that it's not about it's not about the competition, it's about the contribution.
Coming in.
Having a hard time hearing you, Melvin.
So you said you said good point. My last son grew up without me in his life. She used to claim I wasn't his dad, so he lacked identity, angry, disruptive, cannot keep or maintain a relationship. You know, when those type of situations happen, you got to ask yourself, right? What was the foundation built on when you met that person? How much did you really know about them? You know, the whole point of vetting and getting to know someone is to figure out whether or not you can see a future with them. And typically, when you're in that stage, you have to ask the uncomfortable conversations. I can't stand when I see a reaction video or I hear people talk about all of these breakdowns of how things failed in a relationship and they point the fingers and they blame the other person and they don't take accountability for their parts. But how much did you really dig? How far did you really go to figure out whether or not this person was going to be someone that you could deal with? Or was you really just trying to get a nut off? All, think about every single person that you've ever laid down with. You're not with them no more. And there's a reason why you're not with them no more. But see, here's my thing is when you are dealing with folks that you're not going to be with, and they're just memories that you think about 15, 20 years from now, and you just have this random little flashback about your favorite crush or whatever, and you think, dang, why did I even like this person in the first place? Why was I even? I don't even just like that type of stuff anymore, because back at that particular stage, you wasn't really doing what was necessary to get to know the person, and then when you start having sex with them and you're being sharing soul ties and so on and so on, different personalities start coming out. You start exchanging different identities and different spirits with the person because of the people that they dealt with prior to you. Now you starting to see flaws and characteristics that's unsavory and unflattering. They start displaying so many different behaviors that is just like, wow, what the hell did I get myself involved in? Well, you would have known what you were getting involved in if you would have waited to have sex with the person, if you would have just kept talking to them a little longer. You talk long enough, you let them talk long enough, they tell you everything you need to know about them.
But you're not gonna know that if you're young.
Patience.
You're not gonna know that.
Keep your zipper zipped. Keep your money in your pocket. Go on as many dates as you need to, and stop asking these boring questions. These, what's your favorite color? Oh, you like that movie too? Yeah, me too. That's not getting to know nobody. Are you Democrat or Republican? Are you Christian or Buddhist? If you had to choose between me dying or your child dying, who are you choosing? Would you rather explore the universe or travel the sea? Ask the real questions. Ask the questions that's going to piss people off. That's when you really find out what a person is made of, and no one does that at all. And I'm not targeting you, Greg. I'm basically just putting it out there for anyone who is kind of having these flashbacks, and they like to talk about their exes and go down memory lane and stuff like that. What do you expect to happen? And yeah, we have been crappy people too. So it's not one sided. I've been on the end of it and the receiving. So it's just weird. It's unfortunate because kids who grow up like that, they end up out here in the street making music videos with guns and on social media flaunting them like it's a prized possession. And the mom not understanding what she's actually doing is a part of the problem, perpetuating this idea that your your imbalanced way of thinking is healthy to the little eyes that are on you every single day, watching you around the house, talking to dad, talking to the uncle, talking to mom, talking to grandma. They look at you and they replicate everything that you are exhibiting, but you don't see a problem with it. Hold up.
I think the questions that people need to ask are going to be the ones that make people think, that really draw out that vulnerability, that create or that require a bit of trust. And if we're not doing that, we're not doing our job.
Also, you got to think some people, a lot of people, want to be in a relationship more than they want to be in the right relationship. A lot of people just want somebody, so they settle for the first person that comes along or the second person that comes along. They just don't want to be by themselves. So yeah, they a lot of people know I'm with the wrong person, or I should be asking these questions. But sometimes individuals want to be, because they want to be in a relationship, they settle for the wrong relationship. That's way off topic, but
I don't think it's
I agree.
off topic at all. I
You're
think
absolutely
it's
right.
rather relevant. I think that is part of the problem, and another part of the problem is the fact that it is allowed. Something that I have talked about a lot is the idea that negative behavior that is not corrected becomes rewarded, and unless we're willing to do the hard things, which is correct negative behavior, no, you don't act like that. There is no situation in which this behavior is allowed. Having those kinds of conversations is really necessary because it causes people to want to do better. But if there's no one telling them that the way that they're acting is not correct and they need to do better, then they are not going to know to do better, or they're just going to keep on doing the same thing because they aren't being given the right direction. Their negative behaviors, their negative behavior is being rewarded rather than being corrected. And this is not just men's place to do for women. I mean, this goes both ways. Whenever there is behavior that is not right in any situation, it needs to be corrected. And I think that becomes the first thing that gets discussed. We see women that are acting a fool. Great, you know what? Let's create a culture where that is not sustainable, where that is not allowed, where it is not rewarded. It'll change. It'll change very quick. Let's create a situation where men that act in ways that are not honoring women or that are not honoring their masculinity. Great. Let's create a culture that stops that from happening. Let's create a culture that shows that's not permissible, that's not rewarded. It'll change.
Yeah, I was just going to touch on what what's that, Mr. Kelly then said about the son and all that. I just feel like it's easier for a young boy with no guidance to get himself in some trouble. That's pretty much all I was saying. Like if you're not raising these kids correctly or bringing them up or teaching them things as they come of age, it most likely a teenager is gonna get a young girl pregnant, most likely, because he not having the proper guidance. He don't know what comes with that. Nobody's talking to him. Most most single mothers, they say they try, but it get out of hand, man. Most of the times, the in a single mother household, man, the streets raise their son. I mean, that's what the statistics show. The streets is the son's father. You know what I'm saying? And if you're not around your kid and you're not showing them, man, don't do this, do it like this, then history gonna repeat itself most likely. So that's what I was saying. These kids is young, dumb, and full of cum, and they're going to have a mistake without the guidance.
so whose fault is that? We saying a single mom, but ain't no baby made by one person, right? So
Exactly.
I just know for me, I don't care what my kid's mother would have done. There's no way I wouldn't have been in their lives. And don't get me wrong, because I know exactly what you're talking about, because I see it every day, just like you see it every day. But I'm saying we want to blame them, and we can blame the moms, but we got to blame the dads just as much, because there's no way that you see your kid once a month.
So there is definitely some
And
validity to be
I'm
had.
sorry, but I do got to drop. It was great talking, y'all. We'll see y'all next time.
Hey,
My
appreciate it, brother.
apologies.
Yeah, Derek, always great to
Appreciate
see
it.
you.
All right.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you.
One thing I do want to say before I head out as well is there is something to be said about holding the parents accountable. But you have to remember that at some point, a child becomes an adult. And when they become an adult, they are responsible for their own decisions, which means, regardless of how the framework they got from their parents, where that left them, at some point they have to decide that, well, I'm going to make the decision to do better. I'm going to make the decision to find out how I can be a better man. And that's exactly what I did. I did not have a very good framework at all, but I worked at it. I realized that there were things that I was lacking. So I had to make the choice to do the work. And it's just making sure to make that decision to do the work. It's all that's needed. You have to be responsible for your own decisions and your own actions. You have to be. You can't just keep on blaming your mom and your dad because that's victim mentality. You're an adult now. What are you going to do? How are you going to be a better person, regardless of what you got from your parents? How are you going to show that you have the capacity to do better than what you were taught?
All facts. All facts. The bottom line to all of it is accountability. There's no escaping it. Because once you get that to that age, there's no more blaming. There's acknowledging and then deciding that I'm going to do something about it. At that point, you can't say I'm in jail because of so and so. They didn't pick up the weapon. They didn't go into the store and steal out of there. They didn't make you angry and cause you to commit that crime. You did that all on your own. So uh if you have anything that you want to say before we close out, Desperado or Jason, we can do so now. Greg said I should have exercised my judicial right to get access to him. I didn't push back against the court system hard enough.
Salutes to you,
I
man.
think this is a good topic to actually have as a separate discussion. The whole idea of the shoulds and the musts, and the things that we think about, the past thoughts and beliefs, and how to get past them. I think that this would be a really valuable thing to have as well, because there's a lot more that can be said about this than we have time for.
Well,
Agreed.
all I was going to put on it is that, going back to the roles and all of that, we got to do a better job with being in our children's life, because I think that gives them the best outcome possible to be the best that they can be in their futures, in their marriages, in them being a good parent, and them being in a good work environment and all of that. So in a society, that's the job, I think, of parents. So I mean, whatever you got to do, whatever circumstances it is, then you got to deal with that. If you make a child on this earth, mother or father, it is your responsibility to get the job done. From hell or high water, you got to get it done. So touching back on relationship, the relationship.
All right, I'm going to close out with this. My final
Yeah, you
thoughts.
sounded up, man.
First, I want to say thank you to Taylor, to Derek, to everybody in the chat, Jason, Desperado, for your feedback. Um, we're not in competition here. No one is competing to be better than the next person. When we have these dialogues, it's more about telling ourselves, look, maybe we need to kind of quiet our mind down a little bit, shut out the noise outside, and take in some possibilities that maybe we are wrong and we just don't know everything like we think we do. And it's okay to let our hair down and get comfortable and be vulnerable and to allow others to speak to us. All criticism isn't bad criticism. I don't think any criticism is bad criticism, honestly. But this definitely could have gone on way longer. I just I don't want nobody leaving here with this idea that being feminine is an issue or it's a problem. I don't want no one leaving here thinking that you're a slave to a guy because you're feminine or you're soft and gentle or you've decided to put your trust in someone. Because if you're operating under the right circumstances, that man or that woman that has done the work and decides that you are the one they want to give their time and energy to, Nikki, I see you. If you found someone who you can put your all into and you can trust them wholeheartedly to guide and cover you without you worrying about them turning their back on you and stabbing you and betraying you, if you found that, be in your true self, your true nature, raw, authentic, pure, innocent, whatever. You can be a woman. There is nothing wrong with it. You can't give it to everybody, but you are not an on and off switch neither. And I'll just leave it at that. I thank everybody for coming out tonight. This was a hell of a good show. I enjoyed it as always. It's always a privilege and a pleasure to sit to hear with you. And I look forward to the next one. It's going to be a doozy too.
Desperado, was great seeing you again. Thank you so much for being on the panel. Melvin, thank you so much for having me on.
Indeed, indeed. This is Assembly of Excellence saying good night. Blessings to everybody. See you on Thursday.